Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on December the 10th in the year of our Lord 2025, and I've got a lot of great information for you tonight. So let's just jump over here to Murtech.com, Murtech on Rumble. Here we are. This is the video that you're watching right now, my episode 1772. Let's jump into this. Go ahead and pause that. Alright, and close out the live chat. Slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. We have information from Awaken with JP, Black Conservative Perspective, Glenn Beck, and Wendy Bell Radio. Alright, but before we get into that, I do want to give a shout out here to Marshall A. just started following my channel, and 1942 Jr. just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Ms. Flintstone 17 reposted my video from my daily news wrap-up of last night. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1771. Thank you, folks, for reposting my videos to get the word out. Foxy Grandma commented on my episode 1771. Debbie BS commented on my extra 556A and 556B. So thank you very much for your comments, folks. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I definitely appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. There we go. And folks, I have one of those little thumbs up icons right here below the video that you're watching. So if you don't mind, if you could scroll down and just give me a thumbs up there, that would be fantastic. Okay, well, let's get into this. All right. Awaken with JP. This is his Why We Lie to You news segment. You're trash, and we're here to scare you. News update. Okay, well, that kind of sounds like the mainstream media. Let's take a listen and see what it's all about. And I love his attire. Okay, I love the way he dresses, you know, just like a real professional from the mainstream media. Okay, well, let's take a listen.
Whoa! Trump calls Tim Walz seriously retarded. Let's check in with the president to see how remorseful he is.
Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely sure.
On behalf of everyone that was offended, apology accepted, Mr. President. Good evening and welcome to We Lie to You News. Instead of focusing on what's good about your life, we're here to help you focus on what will scare you. First up, Derek Chauvin, who's in prison for George Floyd dying from fentanyl, was stabbed 22 times. Now, some questions are being raised about who was behind it. The stabber is a former FBI informant, and the story is that he's a Mexican mafia member. But he's also from Croatia and is white, as so many Mexican mafia members are. And he said that he did the stabbing of Chauvin to stand in solidarity with BLM, as any member of the Mexican mafia would. Another straightforward case. Moving along. 79-year-old Cher, who I believe has had a little work done, has a net worth of $360 million and just married her 39-year-old boyfriend without a prenup. Now, how did this young man fall in love with such an older woman? Well, the answer we found is the average life expectancy for a woman in the U.S. is 80. Hang in there, buddy. You're almost there. Moving along. In the UK, they continue to protect free speech by imprisoning people for speech. This time, former footballer Joey Barton was sentenced to 6 months in prison for offensive tweets he made towards football commentators. What did he say? Well, in one post that he was convicted on, Barton said of the commentators, only there to tick boxes, DEI is a load of shit. Affirmative action, all off the back of BLM George Floyd nonsense. Grossly offensive indeed. Here's the judge sentencing him.
Counts 2 and 4, the racially aggravated offenses.
Do you think he acts that way on purpose? Like he walks in and says, I'll have the polar bear pube haircut, please? Definitely gay. And a highly respected member of British law he is, doing an outstanding job of protecting the government from its own citizens. Thank you to him. This just in! People all over Twitter are accusing Nick Fuentes of being a Fed, including Elon. This comes after video resurfaced of Nick Fuentes at the Capitol on January 6th, where he was doing exactly what the 274 known Feds in the crowd were doing. Take a look.
Break down the barriers and disregard the police. This Capitol belongs to us.
Now, if this is true, that means all the people that got their labias hurt for Tucker Carlson interviewing Fuentes were mad at Tucker for interviewing a government employee. Their labias are expected to make full recoveries. Bet you didn't see this. Mark Zuckerberg has a new $300 million super yacht where he can be seen on it looking super gay and super dorky. With its 4 diesel engines to power the 287-foot vessel, he'll plan on sailing it around, bringing the good word of climate awareness to people all around the world. I think that they need that message in Venezuela, Mark. Try to go there. Should be an enjoyable boat ride for you. And finally, why was President Trump calling Tim Walz seriously retarded? Well, it's just been uncovered that in Minnesota, under Tampon Tim, hundreds of millions of dollars of tax money was stolen and given to a Somalia terrorist organization. This just in! Apparently, that's not supposed to happen. And after taking the time to finally give Tim Walz an appropriate mental diagnosis, Trump said he doesn't want Somalias in our country, calling them and Somalia Congresswoman from Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, garbage. Ilhan Omar got a little triggered about that. Many are suggesting that if she hates America and loves Somalia, then she should move back to Somalia, which is reportedly a beautiful place. How beautiful? Well, Steven Crowder comes in hot with some Somalia stats. 49% of the population is inbred, and the average IQ there is 67. 70 qualifies for mental retardation. So if Omar ever does leave to go back to Somalia, she would need to raise her IQ by a few points to fit in. But she did marry her brother, so she already checks the inbred box. However, Tim Walz appears to be good across the board. Any closing thoughts, President Trump?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
That's it for today's news. Oh, and keep an eye on Obama. Here he can be seen leaving his recently purchased multi-million-dollar home in London, where he's also reportedly moving a lot of his assets to. Why would that be? Well, chances are he either just wants to spend the winter in crummy weather, or he's preparing to flee the U.S. to avoid facing charges for orchestrating the Russiagate hoax. That would be treason, but who knows which it is. Good night. Hey.
All right, there you have it, folks. That's pretty much true to form of the mainstream media. All right, well, let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Awaken with JP. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Alrighty then, let's jump back here and slide down and see what Black Conservative Perspective has to say. Liberals against racist Trump immigrant ban refuse to take a third world migrants into their home. They refuse to take third world. Well, you know, I thought they loved these migrants. I thought they wanted us to take care of them. Oh, they don't want it. They want everyone else. Okay, I see it. I get it now. Okay, let's see what this is all about. Okay, I think the audio is not coming through on this. Let me go ahead and do a quick. Okay, let me pull your screen up again. Let me get this going here. All right, and I'll get it back to the beginning for you. Let's try it again.
The President of the United States is using racist language.
Somalians ripped off that state for billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
He is. He's using discriminatory language. He is targeting an entire group in a discriminatory way. Again and again and again. And when do we as Americans say being a racist or using hateful racist language is unbecoming of the office of the President of the United States? We need to be able to say that. And we need to be able to say it out loud. But to your point, Whoopi, about is this a distraction? Will his base care about?
And you know why Minnesota is one of the places that actually outside of East Africa, they have the largest Somali population, is because Minnesota was like a perfect state, frankly, because of the infrastructure, the social services. The Lutherans and Catholic Charities were actually very instrumental in ensuring that refugees came to a place where they would be successful. And Minnesota was that place. The president obviously doesn't understand that the Somali immigrants in Minnesota, the people who came through the program, they came through a legal U.S. admissions refugee program. And so when he is talking in a very racist is the only way to describe it, racist and dehumanizing way about an entire demographic of people, he is talking about teachers, healthcare workers, people's friends, families, and neighbors, members of Congress. Right. The derogatory way in which he continues to speak about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar should prompt every single member of the United States Congress, Democrat or Republican, to stand up and say, I just can't get with the racism. That's the very least they could do, regardless if you think you agree with Congresswoman Ilhan Omar or not. What he is doing is racist and it's dangerous. He is putting a target on the back of these folks, and he is using the full weight of the federal government to do so.
Boy. So we got to react to a couple of interviews about the third world, right? Third world migrants, and whether or not you would go and live in the third world, or would you let the third world come to the first world, right, to live in your home, right? In this first clip I want to play, I just found it to be a very fascinating segment between Bill Maher and Ana Kasparian, in which Bill Maher confronted Ana Kasparian about which country she would live in the Middle East.
If you had to live in the Middle East, so tomorrow, Anna, you got to go live in the Middle East, where would you live? You can pick one city, any city. You can, as far away as, say, Pakistan. You could live in Karachi. You could live in Cairo. You could live in Amman, Jordan. You seem to love Lebanon. I mean, Beirut's nice when the bombing's not happening and the assassinations have stopped. Or you could live in Syria. I hear that's wonderful in the summer.
Well, we now have Al-Qaeda terrorists leading Syria.
Or the Houthis, I'm sure, would make room for you.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv, or the West Bank, Ramallah, I think is wonderful for a little, in the fall, it gets lovely. Where would you live? What city would you live in?
Well,
where do you think you'd be comfortable in that dress?
I'm sure it would not be comfortable in this dress in any of the various Middle Eastern countries that have been destabilized by
You're not
the United States.
You're not really blaming it on Whitey.
Listen.
Are you? You're blaming Islam on Whitey?
I'm not blaming Islam on Whitey.
But what you're saying is we destabilized. That's why you can't wear that dress.
Did we not destabilize?
Wait a second.
We were funding terrorist organizations in Syria during the Syrian civil war, starting under the Obama administration.
That's why
did that not destabilize Syria?
No, what's destabilized?
There's a literal Al-Qaeda terrorist.
We're talking about your dress.
Oh,
why?
It looks good. I know it looks good.
You're saying you can't wear that dress in Syria because of Whitey destabilizing?
I didn't say that.
Okay, that's
what it said.
Okay, great.
But the United States did destabilize various Middle Eastern countries. Are you going to deny that?
I asked about the dress, and you went right to destabilize. So is that why you couldn't wear that dress? Why couldn't you wear that dress? Why couldn't you walk down?
You want me to talk about jihadism and Islam, but like...
Why won't you?
Listen...
Why won't you?
I mean,
Why?
I don't believe in jihadism, which is why I'm furious that the United States just had a freaking Al-Qaeda terrorist in the White House.
It's not just jihadism that is preventing you from wearing that dress. Are you saying every Muslim is a jihad? I don't think they are.
Bill.
Okay, why can't you wear that dress?
Let's focus for a second.
No, you won't answer this question.
Yeah, so again, that was a very fascinating answer / non-answer there. But I guess in that interview, they were talking about where would you go and live in the Middle East, right? Where would you live in the Middle East? In this interview, this video I want to react to, they are talking about migrants coming here, right? And would you allow migrants to live in your home. Nobody should be surprised to learn that the same people who are boohoo-whining, crying racism, hate, and bigotry over President Trump's ban on third world migrants coming into the United States of America, including from countries like Somalia and Afghanistan, that the same liberals who are boohoo-whining, crying would not take in these migrants, right? They would not allow the migrants in their homes, but they want to allow the migrants into the United States of America, just not in their house, okay? And probably not in their neighborhoods as well, too. And this is going to get exposed by Matt Miller of Politibrawl, and I want to react to it because, again, liberals, the hypocrisy with these people is never ending. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
Hey guys, this is Matt Miller with Politibrawl. Today I'm here in liberal Washington, D.C., in one of the most affluent neighborhoods, Capitol Hill, asking people what do they think of President Trump pausing migration from third world countries, 19 countries he's designated, including Somalia, Afghanistan, and Venezuela. I also want to see, would they be willing to take in a migrant from one of these countries into their own homes? Let's see if these folks will put their money where their mouth is. You think that Americans should welcome in third world immigrants?
I mean, yeah, I think so. There's a vetting process, but yeah.
There's a vetting process. Like, how important is that vetting process in your opinion?
I mean, I don't know the ins and outs, but I think it's important to do a solid vetting process. Yeah.
Do you think that there might be complications with doing a vetting process with a country like Afghanistan, for example, where it's like the Taliban runs Afghanistan? Like, how good are their records, criminal records on people, financial records? Could it be a challenge to actually properly vet people from there?
I mean, it might be a challenge. Yeah. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of the immigration process, but I know that the guy who committed the shooting, like he worked with a CIA-backed, arms group. So yeah.
He did. Yeah, he was helping American troops fighting the Taliban, but obviously, you know, he was still an anti-American radical of some sort. What do you think?
What about him?
Yeah.
I don't know his background, but I did hear that, like, yeah, he was pretty seriously disturbed.
We're trying to...
and I personally believe that individual, at least in part, was radicalized by the Democrat Party. Okay, I'm not saying that he committed the shooting just because of Democrat rhetoric, but he may have targeted members of the National Guard because of Democrat Party rhetoric. However, what we do know, at least up until this point, is that he was radicalized in the United States of America, apparently. And part of his radicalization was his failure to assimilate, as in he came here to the United States of America and he struggled with assimilation, okay? As in everybody that comes here can't assimilate, right? They can't hold down a job. They can't really learn English. They can't, live a basic life that us as Americans live because they're not from here, right? And their culture is vastly different. Life overseas in Afghanistan is vastly different than it is here in the United States of America. And apparently this guy was struggling with that.
Now learning more about the Afghan national accused in that deadly attack. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem revealing new details as the investigation unfolds, including how his descent into terror could have started.
I will say we believe he was radicalized since he's been here in this country. We do believe it was through connections in his home community and state, and we're going to continue to talk to those who interacted with him, who were his family members, to talk to them. So far, we've had some participation, but anyone who has information on this needs to know that we will be coming after you.
The Associated Press also reporting a leading national refugee agency was warned multiple times the suspect was spiraling into mania and mental illness beginning in 2023, saying, quote, Ramanullah has not been functional as a person, father, or provider since March of last year. He quit his job that month and his behavior has changed greatly. The emails described a man who was struggling to assimilate, unable to hold a steady job or commit to his English courses while he alternated between periods of dark isolation and reckless travel.
See if people would take a Somali or Afghan immigrant into their home. Would you do something like that?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not a bigot against immigrants. Yeah.
Okay. No,
what do you mean by take into their home?
Like, do you have extra space for them? Because right now, like, Trump's going to shut down. But like, if you invite somebody into your home, then they can come from the third world and stay with you.
I'm a student. I don't have a home right now. Yeah, I don't know.
You don't have any room in your dorm or anything?
No, I'm not even from DC. I'm from California. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Well,
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Terrible,
Why do you think it's terrible?
because We're a country that's inclusive of all nationalities, all countries, all peoples of the world.
Are you concerned about the 19 countries that he designated?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think we should take them in, right?
Yes. They should be vetted and we should take them in, but to just blanketly say no more is terrible.
Can I ask you, would you sign our petition here to stop Trump's racist immigration ban? Could you take, how many immigrants could you take into your home from third world countries that he blocked?
I couldn't take any. I live in Wisconsin.
We can send them to Wisconsin for you. We just need your email address. Do you mind if could we ask you your name and your email, and then how many you'd like?
What do you mean to take in?
Just to take them in, because now they're not going to be able to come to the U.S., but you could invite them into your home and take care of them.
I couldn't do that at this time.
Oh,
too old.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, President.
Amazing. These people scream racism, hate, and bigotry, right? Until it's time for them to put their money where their mouths are, right? Like that last woman, when he initially asked, hey, would you take a migrant into your home? Right? She said, sure, I'm not a bigot, right? And then I guess she actually thought about it for a little bit and said, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean take a migrant into my home? And once she actually learned what that meant, all of a sudden it was, well, see, I don't have a home, right? I live in a door. Okay. These people, man, it's unsurprising. These people, they do a lot of virtue signaling, but they're not really about that life. And we know this because look at what happened at Martha's Vineyard. Okay.
There we go. There we go. And that answers your question, Lions Girl. Martha's Vineyard. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Black Conservative Perspective. I'm following the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And, the thing is, he put a blanket freeze on everything until we get this sorted out. These people coming in has nothing to do with race, but it does have something to do with the fraud and corruption that's taken place with these people coming into our country. Okay? I've heard report after report after report about how the migrants coming into our country are getting registered to vote, getting Social Security numbers, collecting Social Security, collecting Medicare, Medicaid, getting food stamps, SNAP, getting their housing paid for. Why? Why? I don't understand. The part of that vetting process is, okay, you don't have a criminal background, which a lot of these people that are coming into our country or have come into our country has not had that background check to see if they do have a criminal background. Okay, you don't have a criminal background. How are you going to support yourself and your family if you have a family? What job do you have lined up? Okay, if they have a job lined up, which is part of the correct vetting process, then they don't need SNAP. They don't need all of the gifts that we give them, free housing and shit like that. So, I'm sure Donald Trump, I haven't heard he hasn't confided in me directly, but I'm sure that he's just, okay, whoa, time out. Okay, we've got to halt this and make sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted before we allow these people to come in, because we don't want any more people coming in that we, the taxpayers, have to support. Does that make sense or not? Let me know what you think. Okay, jumping back here. Let's see what's next on the agenda with Glenn Beck. Trump finally said the obvious part out loud. Well, let's check that out and see what...
So at the
Reagan
National Defense Forum over the weekend, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane, Raisin Kane, hints at a possible conflict in our own neighborhood, and everyone is freaking out. Here's cut one. Listen.
Yeah, I mean, we have not, if you look back over the arc of our deployment history over the last few years, we haven't had a lot of American combat power in our own neighborhood. I think that's, I suspect that's probably going to change. We'll see what we're ordered to do. And of course, we follow that guidance but we're definitely spending some time there now.
Oh my gosh. He means war. And maybe in San Francisco. Can I just go through and give you the meaning of the national security strategy that just came out from the president? And everyone is freaking out about it. And I think the president deserves a round of applause. The reason why everybody hates it is the exact opposite of what they've told us for 100 years we should be doing. And for 100 years, you've seen what we've done and you've seen where it's gotten us. Nowhere, quickly. America is standing in this doorway right now, and behind us is the chaos that we've just lived through. Weakness, drift, bipartisan, foreign policy class that somehow has managed to squander the greatest advantage any nation has ever had. And just ahead, at least according to the national security strategy, is a course correction so sweeping that honestly, it reads like a rediscovery of the American civilization itself. Because this is what this document is. It's not just a list of foreign policy goals. It is a declaration of what America actually is and what it must never allow itself to become ever again. For the first time in decades, the strategy admits the obvious, okay? We lost our way after the Cold War. Yeah, we did. Yeah. We tried to run the world while hollowing out the nation that was supposed to do the running. We were hollowing ourselves out. We outsourced our factories, we outsourced our borders, our sovereignty, and even, God help us, our sense of purpose. We have no purpose. We treated global institutions as if they outranked the Constitution, and they don't. We protected everybody else's borders except we let ours collapse. We defended, abstract world orders while neglecting the American worker who actually paid for everything. And this new strategy as outlined, it just says what you've been saying for a long, long time. Enough. I've had enough. And it lays out what Americans and America should want. And it starts with something, really revolutionary in its simplicity. It says we need a safe, sovereign republic that protects its people, strong families, strong industry, strong borders, strong energy, and a renewed culture that knows its own story and isn't ashamed to tell it. What is possibly wrong with all of that? Strong borders, strong families, strong industry, strong energy, renewed culture that knows its own story and isn't ashamed to tell it. That's why everybody's freaking out, because they don't want any of these things. None of the elites want those things. A sovereign republic? No. He's laying out we want the world's strongest military, but also the world's strongest economy and the world's strongest spirit. And without that, this policy says nothing else holds. And that's true. And it's true. It says the era of mass migration is over, not slowing it, not managing it, but ending it. We know that's true. It says the government's job is to protect God-given rights. Okay. Where do you get that idea? I don't know. The Declaration of Independence. Why is that controversial? It's not to manipulate elections. It's not to police speech. It's not to hide behind bureaucratic language while crushing dissent. All of that is found in the Bill of Rights. It's not controversial. It demands allies actually act like allies and pay their fair share. Controversial? Doesn't seem like it. It promises reindustrialization. Did we learn anything from COVID? Is it a bad idea to have everybody else make our stuff and then we wait for boats? Energy dominance. A national defense industrial base that's built for the world we actually live in, not the world our think tanks wish existed. And then it turns outward. Then it begins to look outward to Europe and the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is shifting under our feet right now, and nobody's willing to say it. In the Western Hemisphere, we should return to something that we should have never abandoned in the first place, and that's what Raisin Cain was just talking about, the Monroe Doctrine. Call it the Trump corollary, but the principle is timeless. This hemisphere is ours to secure, and hostile powers will no longer get a free pass to set up shop in our backyard. How is that controversial? Cartels, it outlines, will become a national security target. Manufacturing comes home. Partnership replaces dependency. Then it talks about Asia, and the message is really clear. We'll compete with China economically, technologically, and militarily. And we'll do it from a position of strength, not by pretending that Beijing is suddenly going to go, you know what? We're just giant friendly teddy bear. No. We're going to do it by accepting the reality and prepare accordingly. But we'll still work with you. Just don't become an enemy of ours, and we won't become an enemy of yours. That means that we have to rebuild industry. It means we have to secure the minerals. We have to dominate the technologies of the future. It means that we ensure that no single power controls the Indo-Pacific waterways that keep the global economy alive. Hello, China, Taiwan, Japan. Then it gets to Europe, which, of course, we have colonial eyes on. Oh, my gosh. All this document says is what European leaders won't even dare whisper. Europe is dying. The entire continent is dying, not just economically, but as a civilization. The Western civilization is dying. Declining birth rates, uncontrolled migration, censorship, loss of identity, regulatory suffocation. We would like Europe to be strong again, Europe to be Europe again, stable, sovereign, confident, peace in Ukraine, stability with Russia, revival at home. That's what America would like, because it would be good for us, but it would also be good for Europe. Because if Europe collapses into chaos, the entire Western world will pay the price, and it will be a very heavy price. But they don't like that. Oh, no, you can't say that. Oh, Europe is pissed at us for saying that. Gang, we all know. Look at Europe. They're dying. They're dying. It won't be long. And if they don't change their ways and they do fall, this document also says something else. We're not going to honor NATO for any country that falls. You become a Muslim country, you're not a NATO country. You fall and you're some other country, you're not a NATO country. We're not defending you. Now, in the Middle East, this document says the forever wars is over. We declare them over. How is that not a good thing that we should all be celebrating? And not because the region suddenly became peaceful, but because America is finally strong enough strategically, diplomatically, militarily to shift from a constant crisis management to long-term stabilization. Iran has been weakened. Israel has been backed. The Abraham Accords are expanding. Energy dominance has returned to the U.S. What does that do? Well, that reduces the old chains that kept us entangled in every sand dune from Syria to Yemen. We're out. Finally, Africa. My gosh, what we have done to Africa with our State Department and USAID, all we do is export ideology instead of opportunity. Trump says in this national security document, that's over. We're flipping the strategy. Trade, minerals, energy, peace deals. No more lectures, no more nation building, no more endless aid with no accountability. Does any of this sound scary to you? Does any of this sound crazy to you? I don't think so. It's saying everything that seems common sense to me. It's saying America is allowed finally to love itself again and to be who she should be, and let everyone else be who they should be. It has a right and a responsibility to defend itself first, to put its people first. It's saying sovereignty is not a dirty word. Borders are not immoral. American workers are not expendable. Free speech is not negotiable. The nation state, not the NGO, not the global boardroom, not the transnational committee. That's the fundamental building block of a free world.
Yep.
How is this bad again? How is it that this is so dangerous? In short, it's a blueprint for a country that wants to live again. Really live again. Now, the question is, do we? Is the president reflecting the national spirit? Do we want to live again? Do we want to be relegated to the dustbin of history, or does America have other great work to do? Because that's really the question. Which is it that you believe? Which is it that you want? I want a strong nation. I want our youth. I want, people coming out of college to have jobs, to be able to buy a house. I want all of those things. I think they're necessary. I think they're important. I think it's just as important to understand our history, to know who we are, to not be ashamed, learn from it, but not be ashamed of it. We didn't do it. Our forebears did. We learned from it. We're better than that. My gosh. Ugh. I read these freakouts and I honestly, I think, my gosh, I'm living in some weird parallel world where I read all of these newspapers and magazines and everything else with their commentary today about the national security, and they're all freaking out, saying this is the worst thing he could do. He's going to tear the whole country and the whole nation and the whole world apart. No, he's just stating what people feel, and not just Americans. Go talk to the people in Europe. Ask them, take this document and make it about England and see if all the people in England don't feel exactly the same way. And if you put a name attached to it, it wouldn't get that person elected. It would. It would. Because everybody's feeling the same way about their own country. I don't have a problem with the rest of the world, but it's time for us to concentrate on us. It's time to concentrate on saying, you know what, there's something special about us. England can say that. They brought us the Magna Carta. They are now torching the Magna Carta. Wait to hear that story. The things that make France. I don't know, the whining and everything else. That is unique to France. Italy, Germany, it's unique to them. I want them to be those guys. I don't want them to be another version of us. I want them to be them. I want them to do well and be part of the family of man and the family of nations. But I don't want anything to do with whatever they do, they do. Same thing with Israel and Saudi Arabia. You do you, boo. We're going to do us. When we can get together, we will. Don't screw with us and we won't screw with you. This is our national strategy. That's exactly what our national strategy. I say amen, President Trump. Finally, somebody is saying what everyone is thinking, unless you've gone to school, for 18,000 years. You have some doctorate in God only knows, international development and studies, women's studies. Unless you got that, you're looking at this and going, yeah, all that makes sense. All of that makes sense. Now the question is, do we want it? And will the people actually back it? Because strategy on paper, that's only words. Until a nation finds the courage to believe in itself again and saying, that's what we must do.
All right. Great information there. Let me show you that this video does come from Glenn Beck. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And I'll tell you what, folks, for decades, I've been scratching my head about foreign aid to other countries. What? We're giving our tax dollars away to other countries? Okay, why don't we go in there and maybe build factories and put these people to work so that they can build cars or furniture for the people that live in those countries, and then we can actually get them jobs and so that they can maybe support themselves so that we don't have to support the entire freaking world. What a concept. Okay, Glenn Beck is right, as usual. He's right on target. Okay, let's jump back here and let's see what Wendy Bell has to say with Enough is Enough. Let's check it out. This is right after she does her Pledge of Allegiance.
You know, you have to be a good listener in life. You have to be a good listener in order to be a good partner, in order to be a good worker, in order to be a good citizen, in order to be a good friend. It's extraordinarily important to be a good listener if your job is in the media. And it astonishes me how the blinders are up so much and the eye patches are on and the earmuffs are dug in. And the people who desperately want to, gotcha President Trump, who somehow managed to squirrel away a few minutes of his time, squander it. And they do not listen to what he says. You know, in the world of consistency, and this is a rub on a lot of women, right? What do men often say about women? We're difficult to follow. We change our minds. We get emotional. We move like the sea, in and out and up and down. And who do you have today? It's a valid criticism. It's part of who we are. Trump is a brick wall. He's been the same brick wall for 40 years. He has the same ideas. He has seen the same things. But now, as commander-in-chief, as president of the United States, he has the proof. He has the details. He has the inside knowledge. He has the records. He has the thumb drives. He's seen the video. He's read the transcripts. He knows it all. And still, the media don't listen to what he has to say. So there's another gentleman who's apparently written to the president because this gentleman, who was a high-ranking official in Venezuela several years back, wants the president to listen to him. And what he says he has is very important information about how the government of Venezuela has used the goons, the gangs, the thugs, the murderers, the kidnappers and rapists and pedophiles of Tren de Aragua to carry out his own personal militia-led objectives. And that is to stay in power, to get rich, to be involved in a vast money laundering network fueled by diamonds and gold and drugs. And how Venezuela, this gentleman who's in prison as a former high-ranking Venezuelan official for Hugo Chavez, not Nicolas Maduro, he's in prison right now in America because of his role with Hugo Chavez doing things this and that. He's written this letter to the president saying, look, Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, Tren de Aragua, all of this has been a part of your government for decades. They have infiltrated Congress. And now there are congressmen, possibly women, I would imagine, right now, who are working with Maduro to keep this vast money laundering network, drug cartel, human trafficking, what have you, alive. And I want to read you a little bit about this. The Dallas Express has obtained a second exclusive letter addressed to President Donald Trump from retired Major General Cliver Antonio Alcala Cordones. He's a former high-ranking commander in Venezuela's armed forces who served under Hugo Chavez, but claims he requested retirement, I guess, when Nicolas Maduro took power, because it was very clear that a criminal gang leader, he said, was taking power. A criminal gang leader. What did President Trump do not that recently? Or pretty recently? He declared Nicolas Maduro the leader of a criminal Cartel de los Sols. Now, this letter, dated December 8th, so 2 days ago, alleges that the country's ruling apparatus, and he's talking about Venezuela, commonly associated with the Cartel de los Sols, is controlled by two people, siblings, Jorge and Delcy Rodriguez, whom he calls the regime's real masterminds. So the Dallas Express prints out kind of a cheat sheet of what it is. I've read the article, I've read the letter, and this is what he says. He alleges that Cartel de los Sols is led by these two, Jorge and Delcy Rodriguez, not Maduro. He claims Maduro expanded the criminal gang Tren de Aragua and exported its operatives abroad, including into the United States. Where's Martha Raddatz when we need her to fact check JD Vance? They're not taking over every apartment building. I mean, it's just a couple. And JD's like, pal, did you hear what you just said? He claims Venezuelan officials used parallel Smartmatic-linked voting systems to alter election outcomes. Smartmatic, the same Smartmatic that is used here in the United States. And he alleges that the government of Venezuela can switch election results on those Smartmatic machines. He describes, I mean, that's scary as stones right there, right? Who's surprised? You surprised? Everybody's like, what? No, of course not. He describes deepened ties between Maduro and Hezbollah and Cuban intelligence. He says regime officials privately boasted about having influence over certain U.S. lawmakers. You think President Trump doesn't know who those people are? You're kidding yourself. He says he's willing to testify before U.S. authorities about drug trafficking, illegal mining, foreign intelligence operations, and alleged electoral manipulation. There is a reason President Trump on day one declared war on drugs. There is a reason they have been launching lethal kinetic strikes on these narco boats. There is a reason certain Democrats in Congress have stood up as the opposition. There is a reason this man, who served 30 years in the Venezuelan military, is reaching out to President Trump now. There is, what? A virtual float. There is an arsenal. What do you call a gaggle of ships? I don't even know. There are 11 ships parked outside Nicolas Maduro's house right now. The airspace is black because Trump said, you know what? I probably wouldn't fly around Venezuela anytime soon. Message heard. There is a reason he is posturing, moving the chess pieces on the board and saying to Nicolas Maduro, you'll have one opportunity and it ends very soon. Take it or leave it. President Trump said all of this last night in an interview with Politico. And the news babe talking to him didn't hear a word of it. You will today. You will. Because none of this stuff, from the Somalians in Minnesota to the Somalians in Maine to the Democrats in Chicago, in California, in D.C., running scared and fighting back against Donald Trump's cleanup of the United States of America. It tells you everything, and it is all connected. Something's going on, and it's going to be big, and it needs to be done, and the Democrats are freaking out. Good. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, so as the Democrats allow Somalians to steal billions from taxpayers so that their communities will vote for them in perpetuity, right? Will Cain sits down with Liz Collin, Alpha News reporter, Minnesota rock star, to talk about this scandal and how it's gone back 8 years. Next
Oh,
on
my
the Wendy Bell
goodness.
Radio Network.
All right, well, let me get this up here past her station break, her commercial break here.
Been wrong. In fact, I'm knowledge.
There we go.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Never doubt President Trump's knowledge. Don't doubt his memory. Don't doubt the well from which he dips down and gets knowledge. In fact, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to think seriously about this, okay? When has President Trump been wrong? Think about that critically. When has he been wrong? When he said something and the media laughed at him and Democrats were like, oh, and then low.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here because I've been saying for years that Donald Trump has information that we don't have, that these news reporters, that try to fake news him all the time, he has information that we don't have access to. And I believe he is honestly trying to release this information. And of course, all the mainstream media does is market. When he gives out information, I believe that there's a lot more to the scandals going on than we know about. I'm sure he knows a lot more information. And in fact, I'm going to drop a video tonight in my daily news wrap-up with Kash Patel talking about, he's on a rampage within the FBI. Because I'm sure there's a lot of shit that goes on in the FBI that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino aren't aware of, so that they can't give that information to Donald Trump. And they're going to, I hope, root that out and eliminate it. Sorry, I had to jump in there and get my 2 cents worth in. Here's Wendy.
Behold, it's true. Why are we doubting the guy with a track record every gambler wishes he had? He's batting 1,000. And yet we're like, well, I don't know. I want you to hear this interview. Will Kane, he knocked it out of the park on his show yesterday. Like every single guest he had. I'm like, I'll take him. And I liked her. The news is heating up. People are beginning to peel back the curtain on what has been an allowed arrangement between Democrats and criminal illegal aliens. Come to our country. We'll give you everything on a silver platter. We'll let you steal from the people in our community. We'll let you rob blind social services meant for people in need who are Americans. If you and all of your 80,000 other Somalians or Haitians or whomever vote for us in perpetuity. It's that simple. How hard is that? That is what has been going on. And Liz Cullen, who has been phenomenal, we had her on the show. She's a great journalist. She's at Alpha News now. And she says, you know what? This whole thing with Minnesota, I know it's on everybody's mind now. But I can tell you this dates back to 2018. What?
Fry, Omar, Ellison. How deep does this go into politics?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, there is an overlap with plenty of Democrats in power in Minnesota with all of this. It was the spring of 2021 when the raids involved with the $250 million fraud scheme tied to Feeding Our Future was first exposed. Even before that, though, you're right. There was a suspected $100 million fraud tied to overbilling at dozens of Somali-owned daycare sites in Minnesota. That was making news back then. So the question of who knew what and when, you laid that out. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, she held several events at the restaurant named in the Feeding Our Future fraud, including hosting her congressional win in 2018 at that very restaurant. So she knew one of the owners very well. Salim Saeed is his name, who has since been convicted. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry's senior policy aide, Abdi Nur Salah, also entered a guilty plea. He was tied to the case. Campaign donations from some of the defendants in Feeding Our Future eventually returned, as you mentioned, to...
Okay, I'm sorry. I got to jump in here again. Now, I've heard interviews about her, and she's talking like, oh, this is something that the FBI should have had a better handle on. So, number one, either she knew this guy was ripping the government off, and she was supporting that, or if she didn't know it, when she found out about it, you would think she would have turned on him like a snake. It's unbelievable. Why did she think it was okay for this guy to invite her into his restaurant and then go ahead and steal money behind her back? If you were a legitimate person and that happened to you, wouldn't that piss you off about this person? And wouldn't you go tooth and nail against that person after they betrayed you like that? Because if this was legitimate on her part, that's exactly what this person did, is betrayed her, used her, stole money because of her. Either she's in on it or she's garbage.
Jacob Fry, Attorney General Keith Ellison, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. But you're right, I sat down with the lead prosecutor in the case, Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson, talked to him months ago, and I asked him, will we see any of these political leaders indicted? At the time, he said he could not comment on future indictments, but even back then, the feds made it very clear that it seemed that these cases were still wide open. Now we're hearing about multiple social programs in Minnesota, and these investigations seem to be wide open at this case, and I think this federal spotlight certainly is helping at this moment.
All right, so it's worth noting that as she's sniffing around on this, the timeline for the whole Somali scandal in Minnesota was right when George Floyd hit. Should we think for a moment that the Democrats wouldn't use Derek Chauvin as a distraction to take the focus off of them and Somali fraud? Here's Liz Collin again. When you shake your magic 8-ball, Liz, is there an answer that appears suggesting the mayor and a sitting state senator and even the state AG didn't know about this outrageous fraud?
Okay, let's explore really quickly together, Liz, the questions of could and did. What I mean by that is we have audio of Keith Ellison. And as you know, Keith Ellison having a conversation with many of the people involved in this program, wherein he seems to be suggesting that he'll get into any type of investigators off their back. Like if there's any holdup in some of the money going to their programs that were fraudulent, he'll grease the wheels, he'll figure out how to keep it going. They were complaining that people were starting to step in and stop the flow of funds. And Ellison seemed to be saying, well, where, how, I'll figure it out. So the question is could and did. Could this have been to this scale without all of these politicians knowing about it? And did they know about it?
It seems at this point, Will, hard to believe that someone did not know about this. You have a state senator, Omar Fateh, celebrating the fact that the money kept flowing. You have a city council member in Minneapolis, also part of that celebration that was actually held. It's on video. There are recordings of that as well. And our reporting dates back years at this point, going over that celebration that took place. Unless none of these people, which I find it very hard to believe, are not talking to each other at all. And now you also have these whistleblowers that have come forward recently saying that they went to Governor Tim Walz 7 years ago when he first came into office, and they wanted to bring these red flags to his attention, and they say that they were met with silence. So we're seeing that now on Medicaid funding perhaps being cut if Walz doesn't take this more seriously, according to that letter that was sent from the federal government on Friday. But we have multi-billions of dollars in fraud in Minnesota. And again, this has been ongoing for years. So just on a personal level, I've been a reporter for 20 plus years now. At this point, I find it really hard to believe that someone at the top did not know something.
She doesn't want to say it. I'll say it. Of course they know. Of course they're in on it. Of course it happened under them. Of course, of course, of course. Period. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, let's dig even deeper into America's Somalia problem, because Maine, oh my, Maine, next.
All right, let's go ahead and get this past the commercial break here. And I want to share a little bit more with you from Wendy. We might run a little bit over. Now, I just got a chat here from a live chat from Lions Girl. Is sound off? Now, I checked it. I have this playing this video playing on my phone, okay? And I check, because if the audio does not come through, I can still hear it through my headphones, but sometimes it doesn't get transmitted out. So I have my phone here, and I'm watching the video on my phone so that I can check to see if the audio is on. And I'm hearing Wendy Bell talk. Is there anyone else having a problem with the audio not coming through on Wendy's video? Let me know in the chat, because, like I said, I checked it and I heard her talking. I heard, the whole thing. So I don't know if Lions Girl is having an issue or if everyone is having an issue. Give me a shout out in the comments or in the chat and let me know. But at any rate, let's go ahead and get this up here.
Oh, yes, I do. Sons are going to be, but it's so good. And by the way, I have a Blood Flow 7 story for you, because they lost our order. We lost our order and they were on it like, boom, white on rice. My sons are going to be so excited. Merry Christmas, boys. Alpha Gold. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. It's sometimes you feel stupid after being fleeced for so long. Anybody who's been ripped off, particularly if it's been ripped off for a while, right? It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. It's beyond frustrating. You want to take somebody, throat punch them, and throw them down the stairs, and then walk all over them wearing stilettos. Ooh, that added a little flavor, didn't it? But when you're the victim of fraud and somebody has ripped you off, it goes deep. This has been going on for so long, it's not even funny. And it's almost embarrassing that we haven't known about it. But I get it. We do now. And it has to change now. So I want to dig even deeper. I want to give you the story about a whistleblower who says Maine taxpayers, it's not just Minnesota, Maine taxpayers have had millions and millions of Medicaid dollars stolen from them by a health services contractor called Gateway Community Services. Now, it's not enough that these people come into our country and then they take over our communities and then they steal from us and then they gloat about it. It's not even... This isn't make-believe. This is real. News Nation. Rich McHugh sits down with the whistleblower who says his boss, who's a Somalian, has been ripping off Maine and sending money to Somalia to fund a militia because he's running for president of his small Somalian enclave. Wait, a guy ripping off Maine taxpayers while simultaneously running for president in his Somalian community? Are you freaking kidding me? Go.
Our own Rich McHugh speaking to a whistleblower who says his former boss defrauded millions of dollars from that state's Medicaid program through services that were never delivered.
We started getting some clients calling and saying, months later that their client owed them hours. They hadn't come in for these shifts and stuff. But I had a time card for it.
And they were billing
for it. They were billing for it.
Our Rich McHugh in Lewiston, Maine for us once again with the latest from his investigation. Rich?
Hi, Blake. The more we look into this story, the crazier it gets. The man who ultimately founded and was the executive director of this social services agency here in Lewiston, Maine, and in other parts of Maine, was at the same time last year running for president of Jubaland, which is a subsection of Somalia on the border with Kenya. His name is Abdullahi Ali, and in an interview, and this is where it gets real crazy, with Kenyan media, he openly discussed contributing money back to Somalia and paramilitary forces. In the interview, first reported by the Maine Wire back in March, Abdullahi Ali posted to his own presidential media page in a section we had translated. He said this: "When I was away and abroad, the financial contributions I was sending back were being used to support the forces for buying bullets, ammunition, and food." Republican State Senator Matt Harrington here in Maine, he's demanded an investigation from Governor Janet Mills.
And it's just an absolute slap in the face to every Maine taxpayer that these funds that could be used to help Maine people, Maine veterans, Maine senior citizens, Maine families who are struggling are being funneled to Somalia directly.
Now, Chris Bernardini, the self-described billing guru who blew the whistle, says he was horrified when he found out about this.
I learned that he was running for president of Jubaland, which is like a small country inside of Somalia, and that he had admitted to funding the militia groups over there. I guess that's part of
Somalia?
In Somalia. That's part of their thing that they do. Every president has a militia that they have to fund in order to run for president.
And so what'd you think about that?
I was horrified.
Now, as you know, Blake, you saw yesterday, we tried to go to Gateway. They essentially slammed the door on us, said no comment. We tried to reach out to Governor Janet Mills repeatedly, no comment. The head of Health and Human Services won't respond, nor will the 3 Democratic Somalian American members of the House of Representatives here in Maine. Nobody will speak to us.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that right there, and I will have this video in my daily news wrap-up, and we'll start it off right here. But, you know, the amazing thing is, like, Tampon Tim and Ilhan Omar and this mayor from Maine, I mean, this is something that's been going on for years. I mean, Trump had all the governors in the White House and was talking to them about, you know, getting men out of girls' sports, boys out of girls' sports in, like, high schools and college and shit. And she basically said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take the boys out of the girls' sports. And he said, well, you'll have to. She said, well, I'll see you in court. He said, okay, fine, we'll see you in court. Now, I don't know whether that has been settled or not. But these people that are committing fraud and stealing government money, you would think that they would kind of lay low. But like Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar and this governor of Maine, it's like they're always mouthing off, you know, and drawing attention to themselves. They're corrupt and they're drawing attention to themselves. You know, I've not been in a situation like that, but I've kind of, you know, heard that, you know, you kind of need to lay low, not draw attention to yourself when you're doing stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm what I heard was wrong. Okay, well, I want to share some information here from Solana Gear. This is a new sponsor that Rumble has come up with. So let's take a listen to this before we wrap it up. Okay?
Step into comfort that moves with you. The Solana Gear heated vest isn't just outerwear, it's a performance-driven heat system designed to keep you warm anywhere, anytime.
With rapid heat technology, lightweight insulation, and a sleek, modern fit, this vest delivers instant warmth without the bulk.
Whether you're hitting the outdoors, traveling, filming on location, or powering through cold mornings, Solana Gear keeps you warm with just the tap of a button.
USB powered, weather ready, and crafted for all-day wear. It's the perfect blend of innovation and everyday style. Don't let the cold limit your adventures. Winter is a beautiful season to explore. Get this heated vest now and enjoy warmth with just one tap.
Okay, here we are. I've just copied the live chat into a comment so it will be permanent. And, you know, here's Lions Girls chat on. Is sound off? There we go. Oop. Oh, I hate it when it does that. Okay, so there we have that. Let me go ahead and hit the comment button and see. Ooh, that's so cool the way it turns green and then fades out like that. Okay, so now the live chats are permanent with this video. And let me remind you folks, these videos that I shared with you, give credit where credit is due, come directly from the producers. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out. I just like to put together a nice little package of information that's going on out there, what dropped today, so that you can be up to date on what's going on and you don't have to rely on the lying legacy mainstream media and deep state swamp and Democrats and rhinos for your information. You can get it from reliable people, and that's what I try to deliver here. And these videos that I share with you are videos that I've posted on Mertech.com, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Here's the video from Glenn Beck that I shared with you. Down here's the video from Wendy Bell that I shared with you. All right. Up here is all this information here from Awaken with JP, and the link to Mertech.com is in the description box. It's a free site. Now, I'd like to share all of this information with you, but unfortunately, I don't have time for that. That's why I've created my daily news wrap-up, where I've added more information. Let's go ahead and take a look at my playlist. I'm going to start off with some information from American Center for Law and Justice. Kash Patel moves to expose his own agency. And then here's the Wendy Bell radio video that I started sharing with you, and I will go ahead and complete that in my daily news wrap-up. Some information from Dr. Steve Turley, some more information from Black Conservative Perspective, more information from Dr. Steve Turley, Benny Johnson, Operation Freedom with Dr. Dave Janda, more Benny Johnson, Chicks on the Right, Barry Cunningham. Got a whole great lineup here that'll probably last throughout the night. So go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee and a donut, or a sandwich and a soft drink, or a beer, and meet me back here at 9:30. Give me a chance to go through and see if there's anything else I want to add to my playlist, and set up my Rumble studio for the live stream tonight, and we'll get this going. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being with me here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.